Hey everybody, it's Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. Guess what? I do what I want. It's June 16, 2013, 12:24 p.m. and you should do what you want also. Before I get into what I want to talk about today, please hit the thumbs up. So let's see, I want to mention a few things. Thank you so much for the couple of donations to the cat rescue. Freya's Cat Rescue is a 501c3 nonprofit cat rescue. We accept food donations and gift cards through Chewy.com. We have been a Chewy.com partner for several years. We also just became partner with Benevity. I pronounced it incorrectly last time. I said brevity or something like that. It's Benevity. And I'm waiting for the information from them on a link on how to donate through them. We also have a PayPal, PayPal me, Freya's Cat Rescue, to donate a can of cat food or a cup of coffee. But I wanted to mention that we did receive the greenies, and guess what? Inside the Chewy box, the outside of the Chewy box was in perfect condition. The inside of the greenies plastic container was already opened. The inner plastic was peeled back. The greenies were all over the box, and there is a ragged, jagged edge to the plastic indicating that it was done intentionally. I contacted Chewy. They were very gracious and are either crediting me back or sending me a new one. And thank you to the subscriber who donated the greenies. The cats absolutely love greenies. Just a short while ago, I was receiving pulses to the left side of my chest, inside of my home. I have a very dull headache that I did not have upon waking. I took my body temperature of my feet upon waking, and they were 97 degrees. This is not normal. This is not naturally occurring. I am being overheated as I sleep. Thank you to the subscribers who mentioned the natural remedies to healing sores on the feet, etc. I'll tell you what I use, folks. And I've been doing this pretty much for years, but I've been doing it more since living here. I buy organic almond oil. This is for the body, not edible, but you can buy the edible as well. I also buy organic castor oil, which is really good for healing. In fact, Edgar Cayce, who is a renowned psychic healer, recommended castor oil and castor oil packs applied to the body for just about everything imaginable. I highly recommend researching Edgar Cayce, C-A-Y-C-E, and the use of castor oil and castor oil packs, which you would use with 100% cotton, usually these squares, and they are soaked in castor oil, applied to the body, and then covered with a towel. You can apply that to your abdomen, your feet, etc., your toenails, and your eyelashes. They actually purport to help hair grow. So castor oil is really good for you. I also use apricot kernal oil, which is okay, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical doctor, but people have actually been cured of the C word with raw apricot kernels. And you can purchase apricot kernels raw in a bag. They're unsalted. You don't want them salted, and they're a little bit bitter. It's almost like eating almonds, like raw almonds, but they're a little smaller and a little bit more bitter, but they're really good for you. And the apricot kernel oil is good to apply to your body. And yes, thank you for the recommendations about zinc. Before the criminals disabled my hot water, I would take an Epsom salt bath with about 3 pounds of Epsom salt for each bath, eucalyptus, peppermint, rosemary, which of course they dumped 2 bottles of organic essential oils of rosemary. You only need a drop or 2, but they dumped the entire bottle somewhere. They also dumped my frankincense. All these essential oils are very costly. It's asset stripping. It's deeply disturbing that somebody's in your house to do this. So this is not something that could be done remotely, like the directed energy weapons, the radiation and stuff. Somebody has to physically come into my house to go into my bathroom and empty bottles of essential oils. Okay, so this is boots on the ground, folks. So yes, there are a lot of natural remedies, and I highly recommend, yes, vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin D3, especially if you don't go out. All of these oils, after you scrub your body, you could purchase Mule Team Borox. Mule Team Borox in the shower, you can scrub with it. It is abrasive. You can scrub your face with it. You can scrub your body with it. You can actually put a tiny, tiny little pinch in water and have that every day. Borax is good for you against the nanotechnology and stuff. There are so many other natural remedies, but that's not the purpose of this video. We can go into that another time. Let's see, what else do I have on my list here before I reveal the next criminal. Gangstalker. If you want to call them a gangstalker, I'm going to call them a stalker. I'm going to call them a perpetrator. I'm going to call them a criminal hired by the Manalapan Police Department to steal from me. It's not even covert anymore, folks. So this is when I lived at 52 Sutton Drive, Manalapan, New Jersey. That is my old phone number. I had that phone number for 30 years, and I don't have it anymore. That was a landline, okay? July 30th, 2018. Okay, this is before my medical kidnap and before the criminals next door reported me, and the police department said that I was a terror threat for walking on my driveway. So here you go, folks. This is Joe Plummer, also known as Jonathan Plummer. I don't know what his real name is, folks, and I don't think he lives there anymore. Now, let me tell you a little bit about him. The year prior, in 2017, I had worked on my house, and I needed a painter, not a plumber. He's not a plumber. That is his last name. He is a painter. He does wallpaper, painting, you know, kind of little repairs like that. He'll lay floors and stuff like that. No, he is not a licensed painter. No, he is not a licensed anything. Okay, and in the state of New Jersey, according to the Attorney General's office, you should be licensed. Okay, so I didn't know all of these things at first, and a lot of people choose not to hire a licensed person. And the reasons are licensed people will charge you more money. It happens here in Kentucky. Somebody will tell me outright, I'm licensed, I have to carry insurance, as if it's my responsibility to pay for your insurance. I don't know, folks. That's not the way it works. You pay your own insurance and then you write it off on your business returns. You don't pass that expense on to your clients. So anyway, I hired him the year before, and he did some good work for me. He did some painting, he removed some wallpaper for me. So of course, you know, if you hire somebody, they do some good work. If you need the work done again, you'll hire them again. So in 2018, I hired him again. And at first, of course, he was good. And he's a big, strong guy, tall, strong, so he can move furniture. There are a lot of people that you hire to do painting, and they want you to hire somebody to move your stuff out first. So, you know, he was able to do that for me because he's a big, tall, strong guy. So, and I liked him. You know, he worked for me the year before, but then this year, all hell broke loose. So I was being heavily vandalized, broken into and stuff. And when I showed him what was happening in my house, he immediately looked at my staircase, and this is why I hired him the second time. My staircase, walls, and molding were rippled and buckled. He immediately looked at it, and he said, "Oh, that was done intentionally with a heat gun." I said, "Really?" I mean, still, at this point, I wasn't sure what was going on. So somebody was coming into my house and using a heat gun on my molding. This guy, I mean, obviously he did it for a living. He knew exactly what was going on. So then he repaired it for me. And then it happened again. And then, evidently, the Manalapan Police Department contacted him, or the local fusion center operatives, and all hell broke loose. When I told him what was happening, he said, I really think you need a detective. I said, well, can you recommend someone? Stupid me, right? Can you recommend? He said, yeah. He said, actually, my cousin is a cop at the Manalapan Police Department. And still, I thought the Manalapan Police were still my friends. No. I said, really? Who's your cousin? Well, I mean, come on. They're both black guys. The only cousin that could be his there would likely be Mr. Grant. You know, the police officer that showed up that told me that my house wasn't broken into. He wasn't wearing a badge or identification and ran around my property, says your house wasn't broken into. I was a locksmith in my past life, you know. That guy, evidently, this is what he says, that they're cousins. That may or may not be true. Maybe they're not cousins. They could be cousins. They're both tall. They're both, big and strong guys. They could be related to each other. So anyway, he told me, he said, listen, he said, you need a detective. I'll talk to a friend of mine. And actually, while I'm talking to him, he calls this alleged detective. Right? I never get to meet this detective. It was the biggest scam. And because I was already under trauma-based mind control for all of these years, my cats being murdered, my house being broken into, heat gun being used on my furniture, my molding, having to hire people to redo so I could place my house on the market, that was being blacklisted for 3 years. I hire this alleged detective. Right? I hire this alleged detective. I'm waiting for the contract. A week goes by. Another week goes by. I pay this guy a check. I never pay something like this in cash. A check. $4,000. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward. I never got any information from the detective. It was always where this guy, Joe or Jonathan Plummer, would be on the phone with the alleged detective. He would never let me speak to him. He was always relaying third party. I don't know who he was speaking to. Maybe he was speaking to a cop. So here you go, folks. July 30th, I sent him a letter. Detective Services contract of John. This letter is a synopsis of the hiring of detective services of your friend named John. At your referral, you recommended the services of a friend named John, stating he is an excellent private detective, highly recommends him, and that he drives 3 separate vehicles to essentially go undetected. You hear that, folks? 3. There's that number 3 again. 3 separate vehicles to essentially go undetected. Given the horrendous break-ins, property vandalism, and theft of personal property, that I trusted your recommendation and desire to protect a woman living alone, on many occasions you offered to stay over or call you if I needed you. While I had to borrow the money to pay for this individual, I wrote a check on June 26, 2018, payable to you in the amount of $2,250. Okay, so this is the first check, okay? You said you would pay him cash as he preferred. You left my residence that moment, allegedly meeting with John. I asked for a copy of the paid invoice, and you said that I would receive the invoice along with the evidence report in a couple of weeks. Within a short time, you stated that John claimed to view a neighbor on my porch at approximately 12:10 a.m. You described what this individual looked like, and he matched the description of a man staying over next door. Another instance where another break-in occurred, you stated that he saw 2 dark figures, but it was too dark to see the faces. There was subsequent vandalism to the property and break-ins that your friend failed to report. This is a summary of the approximately payment timeline since having retained the services of P.I. John. June 26, 2018, I won't tell you the check number, in the amount of $2,250 to retain surveillance services for 1 year even if I move to another state. 2. July 11, 2018, another check in the amount of $18.50 to purchase a device to block and track EMF fields on the property, of which you showed me an image on your smartphone. I still have not received a copy of that invoice or the model number of the device. Both checks were written to you directly, as you claim that John preferred cash, which you provided him for my cash checks. As of this date, I have not received the receipt for either payment, contact information, or any report from John. I have not received any phone calls from John. You may claim to having arranged for him to contact me at 10 a.m. on Saturday, July 28, but that call was not received. Instead, a private number phoned my cell phone at 8:30 a.m., but I didn't get to the phone in time. You stated that he had to fly to Miami for the weekend and would call when he arrives, but he did not. Cell phone service works across state lines. More than 1 month has passed since my initial payment on June 26th in the amount of $22.50 and the second payment on July 11, 2018 in the amount of $18.50. One of two things need to happen as soon as possible. I need a receipt for both payments made, the evidence report, and contact information from John no later than August 2nd, 2018. If those items are not received, I am requesting a full refund in the amount of $4,100. For every day thereafter the refund that is not received, I will see compounded interest on the refund owed. Lastly, due to the confidentiality of this very personal matter, you may not share my personal information with anyone. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter and for providing the above requests and or refunds immediately. Best regards, Lorraine Valenti. This was sent certified mail. I received no response. So now in September of 2018, again, this is just before my medical kidnapping at the Manalapan Police Department. Certified mail, return receipt requested, U.S. mail, and email. So I sent it 3 separate ways. Dear Joe, second request, refund for private investigator services, also known as John. This letter is a synopsis of hiring the alleged private investigator services of your friend named John and for my having provided a sealed envelope containing 2 lists and approximately 4 storage sticks filled with evidential photos that must be returned immediately. I guarantee, folks, those 4 storage sticks filled with evidential photos were given to the Manalapan Police Department. As of June 26, 2018, 3 months to date, I have not received 1. Invoice receipts for 2 payments in the amount of $22.50 and $18.50, and 2 phone calls from John. 3 an in-person meeting with John. 4 a surveillance report from John, and 5 requested refunds, and 6 return of envelope containing the above referenced documentation. As of this date, after multiple phone, text, and mail requests, it is assumed that you have committed several acts of fraud, theft, and theft by deception. To reiterate circumstances at your referral, you recommended the services of an alleged friend named John, stating he's an excellent private detective, highly recommended him, and that he drives 3 separate vehicles to essentially be undetected. You allegedly spoke to him on the phone as I was in your presence, yet refused to allow me to speak with this individual, claiming he is quote-unquote very private, and for security purposes would wait to maintain contact until after surveying the situation. Given the repeated home break-ins, property vandalism, and theft of personal property, I trusted your recommendation and desire to offer protection to a woman living alone. And on many occasions, you offered to stay over or call you if I needed you. When I borrowed money to pay for this individual named John a check blank on June 26, 2018, payable to you in your name in the amount of $22.50 and $18.50 for a total of $4,100 was given to you. You stated you would pay, quote-unquote, John cash, as he preferred, and pulled cash out of your wallet. You would reimburse yourself with my cashed checks. Then you quickly departed my residence to allegedly meet with John. I asked for a copy of the paid invoice, and you stated that I would receive the invoice along with an evidence report in a couple of weeks. After 2 weeks, there was no such report, or payment, confirmation, or receipt. You made excuse after excuse of how busy and private he is, and how he had to travel back and forth to Florida for another project. To the best of my knowledge, there is phone service and postal mail service in Florida, so the excuses are unfounded. Within a short time, you stated that John claimed to view a neighbor on my porch at approximately 12:10 a.m. You described what this individual looked like, that he matched the description of a man staying over at the neighbor next door. Another instance, when another break-in occurred, you stated that he saw 2 dark figures, but it was too dark to see faces. There was subsequent vandalism to the property and break-ins that your alleged friends failed to report. I made several requests to meet John, have him phone me directly. I even suggested him contacting another friend if he felt like calling my home was unwise. Every request I made to be in contact with John was met with vehement opposition and lame excuses by you. As a result, after approximately 1 month, the end of July, I asked for a full refund and return of my property. And on this day, September 23, 2018, I have not received any of the items asked for above. This is a summary of the approximate payment timeline. Having retained the services, P.I. John. 1. June 26, 2018. A check in the amount of $22.50 to retain surveillance services for 1 year, even if I move to another state. 2. July 11, 2018. Check in the amount of $18.50. Purchase device to block and track EMF fields on property, of which you showed me an image on your smartphone. I still have not received a copy of that invoice or the model number of the device, and both checks were written directly in your name. As of this date, I have not received a receipt for either payment, contact information, or a report from John. I have not received any phone calls from John. You may claim to having arranged for him to contact me at 10 a.m. Saturday, July 28th, but that call was not received. Instead, a private number appears at my phone at approximately 8:30 a.m., but I didn't get to the phone in time. You stated he had to fly to Miami for the weekend and would call when he arrived. I received no such call, and cell phone service works across state lines. This is my final letter before you were reported and sued for damages, compounded interest, and personal property owed to me. Please provide the full name, phone number, and address for John. And lastly, due to the confidentiality of this very personal matter, you are forbidden to not share my personal information with anyone. I will consider it a breach of privacy and further grounds for legal action against you personally to your business, which is J.T. Painters. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter and for providing the above requests and refunds no later than September 8, 2018. And guess what, folks? I gave these letters to the Manalapan Police Department, and guess what? Because of these letters and because of my hiring this alleged private contractor, when I was medically kidnapped December 10, 2018, after torturing my cat Cinnamon with directed energy weapons the night before and murdering him, Lieutenant Thomas Mantle, who's now a captain, God forbid, in the name of Jesus Christ, please shoot him down. In the name of Jesus Christ, Carmageddon is on your way every day. They brought Tina Booth, the Monmouth PES BITCH, who's not a licensed anything, In fact, my credentials were stronger than hers. She claimed that because I didn't sleep the night before, because I was up with my cat who was being murdered, and because I hired this detective, that I displayed poor judgment. Yes, folks. And she labeled me all kinds of weird diagnoses for being in the presence for about 15 minutes. Yeah, so Tina Booth, I'm going to be calling you out in the not too distant future. Oh, I can't wait. Can't wait, Miss Tina Biatch Booth. Oh, yeah, and I've got all the photos of your underage daughter in a bikini on Facebook. Talk about errors in judgment. What kind of professional displays their underage children, a girl, in a bikini on Facebook that's not even privately protected? Police. I would never do such a thing. You don't do that stuff. I don't know. I think you're the one that displays poor judgment. I'm the one that's being tortured and broken into. I'm the one that's having MK Ultra 2.000 inflicted upon me by the Manalapan Police Department, Fusion Center operatives, and the criminals at my favorite Bureau of Instigation. Oh, and also those private contractors in Red Bank, New Jersey. Yeah. So here you go, folks. This is my reveal. Oh, and guess what? You want to hear something even better? This man has been dating a woman, a blonde-haired woman, for a long time. She would come to visit him while he was working at my house, and she'd say, "Oh, can I take pictures of your cats? My kids love cats." And I would say, "No." And she would walk in and start snapping her, snap her little camera to photograph my cats. I bet she was a gang stalker, too. When you tell somebody no, and they continue, guess what? They're part of the problem. And then this Joe Plummer, the painter, has the audacity to call me months later and say, "Guess what? I got engaged to my girlfriend finally." And he texts me a message of him proposing to her, likely with the $4,100 that he stole from me. That's right, folks. And I did report him to the Attorney General. I did report him to the Manalapan Police Department. I guarantee you will never find that incident report. So that's my reveal for today. Criminal, Manalapan, New Jersey. Joe, also known as Jonathan Plummer. I found out that he's been in prison. Yeah, I found out that he was in jail. He was in prison. I'm not exactly sure what for, but he was in California prison. Somebody said it was for child support. You don't really go to prison just for child support. You might go to jail. Like my ex-husband. Yeah, I made sure to get a bench warrant for his arrest for owing me so much money. And he was arrested once, twice, 3 times. And I remember when he was talking out loud to the judge. I mean, I couldn't believe it. It was like I can't say it was the best day of my life, but it was something that I was manifesting, praying, and I was working, and I get a phone call. I get a phone call from the sheriff's department. I was like elated. We arrested your husband. I was like, hallelujah, hallelujah. And I had to drive all the way to Middlesex because that's where he was living at the time with his girlfriend. And yeah, so I had to wait in the court while they lined up the chain gang. And yes, folks, they actually have the chain gang where they bring in the defendants, all the deadbeat dads. They're all linked together with handcuffs. My ex-husband, yes, he was the tallest. He's 6'5" or 6. I forget. He's 6'6". He's big. He's a big guy. And the best dressed. He's wearing his Calvin Klein, his best Calvin Kleins, and his briefcase and everything. And all those other little guys there, much shorter than him, hard-working guys. They're like owing, like they're being charged like $25 a week and stuff. And my ex-husband owes me at that point like thousands and thousands of dollars. And my ex-husband has the audacity to speak back to the judge. And the judge then says, this was like really another one of those Kodak moments. The judge turns to my ex-husband. He says, "You can't find a job?" He says, "I've got one for you right here at the county jail." And he incarcerated my ex-husband, and voila! All the money he owed me showed up. Literally overnight. So guys out there, girls out there, when you think and your ex-husbands owe you money, you go out there and get a bench warrant. And you get that sucker arrested. And I guarantee he's not going to stay in jail all that long. He's going to make sure he gets that money for you. Unfortunately, my ex-husband started the same routine all over again. And then he decided, well, I'm going to move to Florida. Can't arrest me here. So anyway, that was just a little extra tidbit there. So, yeah. So anyway, this critter was allegedly in prison for child support? I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, guys? Can you go to prison? Can you go to like a maximum security prison just for not paying child support? That doesn't make sense to me. But I don't know. So if you know, please leave a comment down below and tell me if you've experienced this fraud here. If you've experienced such a fraud in your life. But this is Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading, exposing one gang-stalking criminal at a time. And yeah, Tina Booth, you'll be up for grabs real soon. Signing off for now.